Welcome to another edition of the Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Raymond Wu. On today's program, we're delighted and honored to have Mr. Guy Wittich, the Chief Executive Officer of European Chamber of Commerce in Taipei, as our special guest. Guy, welcome to our program.
Welcome, everyone. Good to meet you.
Yes. Guy, I hope our meeting and interview could have taken place in better economic climate and circumstances. But of course, we all know that we're in the middle of a very, very serious global financial turmoil. And I understand that according to different reports, some of the leading European financial institutions are also very hard hit. And in your personal view, and not representative of each CCT in Taiwan, how do you think the financial slowdown has impacted the European economy and also some of the European firms that are operating in Taiwan?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look really good at the short term. I think what we have seen in Europe, we're seeing now, and if you hear what comes out of the G7, which was just held over the weekend in Rome, the economy in Europe will look as bad as in the United States. Even the forecasts are even more pessimistic than the U.S. economy. Hardest hit, of course, is the moment is the UK. We hear quite some bad news out of Spain and Italy as well.
Yes.
And we know about all these stimulus packages that both Angela Merkel but also Nicolas Sarkozy is putting in place in the larger economies.
In France, yes.
And if you look at what's happening in Taiwan, of course, that's all reflected here. So if you look at the financial service companies, whether it's insurance, banking, and asset management, basically the problem is there's not much business. And this all has to do with the confidence.
People are spending less. Yes.
People are spending less. They have less confidence to put their money within a financial institution. And so this is reflected in their business. And then in Taiwan, the problem is that Taiwan is an export-driven economy, right?
Yes.
With 30% of their exports going to the US and Europe. And many of our members that are here are part of the food chain, so to speak. So if they're in technology, they will be supplying the core components that are used by companies like Chime and Yoda and TSMC. But if there's no market, there's no production and there's no sales. Taiwan is now one of the world's top players in the machinery business, for instance.
Spare parts, yes.
European companies are very strong also in providing the components for these machineries. Now, if there's no production in China or anywhere else in the world, Taiwan is not exporting those machines, and European companies are not selling their components to these industries. And then as part of the food chain is retail. So once you have earned your money in the IT business, you want to spend it in retail, buy stuff. But if you don't make any money anymore, you have no more work. You have these Wuxinjia, and I heard that the Zhuke, the Hsinchu Science Park is half empty. This will affect our members, and European companies are quite active in Taiwan in the retail sector, so hypermarkets, supermarkets. And frankly speaking, they're having a hard time at the moment. The automotive industry, where we have traditionally quite a strong European...
Some of the leading cars around the world, Volvo, Mercedes-Benz.
And that is also a difficult market at the moment. People do not spend on large ticket items and rather save their money. And that's really what it is about. It's about consumer confidence. And we haven't seen it in Europe, and we don't see it in Taiwan at the moment. You asked me when it will recover. I have no idea.
I don't think anybody does.
Nobody has. There's wishful thinking, Q3, Q4. But frankly speaking, I'll be very cautious with giving any answers on that.
And also the fact is what you said earlier is very, very important, because in the financial downturn as severe as the one that we're experiencing today, I think confidence is very, very important. And if people don't have confidence regarding their jobs, regarding the future of the economy, regarding the future state of health for the world economy, then they're not going to be spending. And when there's no expenditure, then there's no demand. And when there's no demand, there's no production. And Taiwan, like you said, is part of the export, food chain. When there's no, demand at the end of the food chain, then all the upper stream companies and countries in the process will be adversely impacted. And according to the number of the number of statistics that's been released, nothing's good. And also, a lot of people are speculating, like you said, we may bottom out in quarter 3, quarter 4, but nobody really knows. And have you sensed from the membership within the ECCT that there is some optimism? There is that looking forward to it, and maybe not this year, maybe next year, then things will slowly get better. Do you start to get that sense among the members, membership yet?
No, frankly speaking, I mean, if you talk about the natural demand from the market, I don't see it.
You don't. You haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, but what we do see, of course. I mean, what everyone has to do during times of economic crisis is look at what are we going to do, right?
How are we going to survive
How are we going to survive this? What opportunities are there in the times of an economic crisis? And then you see, and I think the government is right in looking at infrastructure to improve the infrastructure in Taiwan, to provide more opportunities for business and of course employment. And I think there's an opportunity for both European companies together with Taiwanese companies to look at, for instance, at the same time that we have economic crisis, we have a global warming issue. We want to reduce our CO2 emissions, and of course we want to reduce our operating costs. And actually, those two can go quite well together. Reducing operating costs and taking care of the environment. So we just in the chamber we have started a project which looks at energy conservation, and it's not out yet.
It's not out.
Looking at our reports,
I was looking at some of the reports that you brought with you.
That's actually in process, is where we have asked a couple of companies to get together, and they have these technologies that they've been developing. Actually, quite large companies that traditionally have not been in that business, but have made this one of their new core businesses to look at green buildings. How do you make buildings more energy efficient, more environmental friendly? And one of the things in Taiwan is, for instance, urban regeneration. Like 都市更新, I think how they call it is. I think we can look at a partnership between European companies and Taiwanese companies together with the governments of the cities. How can we improve the efficiency of the energy of the buildings? What kind of stimulus packages can we develop to encourage business and the end consumers, the residents, to reduce their energy bills? And what kind of building codes do we need to put in place to actually encourage everyone to really regenerate? Because there are a lot of plans, but what is missing at the moment in Taiwan is to get the incentives and the regulatory framework to push people in the right direction. So this is one of the exciting projects that we started late last year, and I think the timing is right because, in times of crisis, you have to sharpen your knives. You have to be ready when the
explore and discover new opportunities.
And when you're out of the economy, or you're out of the economic crisis, you actually are ready to, as Taiwan, to export your knowledge that you have developed in this period. So we do see a lot of opportunities there. But also, sewage systems in Taiwan, it really needs to be improved because a lot of water is wasted. And so this is the time to roll out some projects. And basically what Japan has been doing in the 1990s when they were in a crisis is to spend money on this area.
Interesting, Guy, that you mentioned about infrastructure. Because I remember in a meeting that we had together last year, that you said the infrastructure, of course, has always been an interest for many European companies. But the problem that you've had for the companies is the lack of transparency, and the bureaucratic bottlenecks, in the process of making the undertaking very unprofitable and it's not worth it. Is that still a concern for many European companies? Because we know that European companies have had some success in previous infrastructure projects. For example, the Taipei Metro is a very good example. But has that doubt and the lack of transparency been somewhat improved? Not only at the central government level, but also local government level.
To be fair to the government, I think the government procurement agreement under WTO, which Taiwan just signed, has really helped. But if you be very critical. Some industries are not covered. So, for instance, if you look at the electrical equipment, that part is not covered. But okay, you could argue that should have been out-negotiated between those two. So I'm not going to argue about that. It will definitely help and set the scene for a more transparent procurement environment. It probably also take care of the too high offset requirements. These are requirements which obligate you as a contractor to take up to more than 40% of local contract to be included.
That's your partner.
So that has moved the right direction. What we're still worried about in Taiwan, and of course we're very happy with the iTaiwan Charge and the 12 projects under LOFT. That is great. We'd love to participate and be part of this. There are a couple of things there that we really hope that Taiwan also put some effort in getting some of the world's leading technologies into Taiwan. That it invites European or American companies into Taiwan that are leaders in that, and so that it can learn from those top-class, world-class projects and develop its own industry. And in order to do that, you should not go for the lowest price. You should go for the best quality or best technology, value for money. That's fine. That's reasonable. You don't have to go for the most expensive project, but get good quality for money, so that when you build an infrastructure, you don't have to rebuild it again. I mean, we all know. It can
last you a long time. Yes.
We all know about Xinsheng Gaojiaqiao, the Xinsheng overpass in Taiwan. It's no secret, right? It's awful, and we all know why. So, in order not to have to rebuild bridges and important infrastructure construction, you need to have a high quality project technology, and you can learn from them. You can actually that knowledge can be transferred and make Taiwan companies more competitive.
Okay. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Mr. Guy Wittich, and we're going to talk about how the economic downturn has affected EU and Taiwan economic relations. We'll be back in 2 minutes.